So the gurus out there are all about making their money, particularly at the seminars. So what they want you to do is they want you to enroll, then there's endless upsells, and you're left, like so many are, wondering, how can I make this real estate thing work? Well, I've got the secret. And that's really simple. Troubled people equal troubled houses equal trouble. And you got to know that. They don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to talk about it because it takes a certain kind of person to be able to work through it and put up with it. So what do I mean? Well, let's talk first about troubled people. How did the house get to the place, particularly if you're wholesale, the boarded up, vacant, just plain ugly houses? And you've seen them. And that's the core of an entry real estate strategy. How did they get that way? Well, it's often with years of neglect. It can be family issues. It can be issues dealing with the estate where the siblings hate each other. I see it all the time. So how do you deal with that? That's a good question. Glad you asked. What you got to do is lean in and gain real trust from at least one person in the estate, representing the estate, that'll trust you. And then you got to lean into the other ones, because often if they trust you and they're your only representative and you've got another sibling who's checked out a long time ago, then you got problems. So you've got to lean into them. So it's important to know that the house got that way because of some reason. Why? Well, because of neglect, because they're fighting with each other, because they're unpaid taxes, because they can't afford it. There's a lot of reasons that stack on to each other. Usually what gurus do is they just give a strategy. It all sounds good. It sounds easy. Why does it sound easy? Because they want to make money. That's exactly why. They don't really care whether you're successful or not. Now, they'll say they do, but if you look at the numbers of people who get in, they often do not know about the psychology of the people that they're dealing with, which makes it extremely difficult. It's doable. I'm doing it, but you got to know what you're doing. If you're interested, direct message me, 951-847-0116, John Sarver, and I'll help you. So you've got troubled houses. What are the key indicators you're looking for in troubled houses? Well, if you got a half-decent neighborhood and you're driving by and this thing has overgrown brush, boarded up, looks like a bomb hit it, then that's a pretty good indication. Now, if you have houses in a nice area and you have this, that's really a point of focus for anybody. But you have to know what led to that. And so it's good to get your study, to go in there and study the property, find out how long it's been vacant, find out who the connections are. Sometimes that's easier than others, but it's got to be done. And then you lean into them individually. Start with the lead person, who's ever there, who's ever the top contact, and then go from there. So troubled houses equal troubled people. Let's dive into the troubled people a little bit more. Again, I said a little bit earlier, it got that way for a reason. And you've got to be able to work through what the reasons are. Often, you need to take your time to see if the property is worth pursuing. A deal is not a deal until you get it at the right price. I should know. I've gotten a lot of deals, felt good about them, but didn't get in at the right price. It never, because you have troubled people, you're going to want to naturally deal with their psyche. And they're usually in a mess. They usually need the money. So the compassionate side of all of us comes out. And we want to help them. Well, that is part of my mission statement, to help people. But if I'm not making money, I'm not helping anybody. And if I'm not clear on what that property is actually worth. I usually start at 45 to 55 cents on the dollar. If it's boarded up, vacant, just plain ugly, looks like a bomb hit it. Compared to what comps of reasonable size will go in that area. Why is that? Because everybody wants a deal. If you come across an owner and they're troubled, most likely they are. Very rarely find that they're not. And they don't have to sell, then you don't have a deal. If they don't have to sell, that means that the price they're going to agree to is typically too high for the market, particularly for wholesale. Now, you may be able to get into the distressed rental area, but that's a thin little margin that not many of us have the skill to negotiate. Some do. If you're very experienced, you can turn that into collaborative partnerships that you know and pass that house on to somebody else. But that's for a later date. For most of us, you've got to get in at the right price, but you're also dealing with the emotional issues. Many of these people are under tremendous financial pressure. So emotionally, they're going to be ratcheted up, aren't they? So they're going to want more for the house. It's not realistic. So what do? You become their trusted advisor. You sit back, you try to connect with them personally. It's always good to see these people personally. I know a lot of people, they market virtual wholesaling, virtual distress rental acquisition, virtual. Why do they market that? Because they want you to think that somehow you can cut corners and still be successful. Occasionally, people are. I've seen it. Most of the time, you've got to be in the area, you've got to know the area, and you've got to lean into the people. And you've got to be able to decipher what's going on. So you ask leading questions. So, tell me about your siblings. What kind of relationship do you have? How's that looking? Is this something where people are going to be easy in agreement or not? And then, that's right. I was quiet for 2 seconds. You probably thought it was an eternity. But that's the hardest thing to do, is just shut up and listen. Listen to what's really going on. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying about their situation. Listen to what they're saying about what happened after their loved one died. Hey, I was in the middle of it. It happens to everybody. The stress of a loved one who dies. And then if there is an estate, divvying up the estate is also often very complicated. Why is that? Often siblings are influenced by the person they marry. And often the person they marry is at odds with other siblings. It happens all the time. So you've got layers and layers of difficulty that you have to work through. What's the best way to do it? Chet Holmes often said this. I was his top business coach for years. That you've got to lean in and be their trusted advisor. That means you've got to slow the process down. You got to lean into where they communicate with you and work through it. Once you become their trusted advisor, you've got a far better chance of getting a sale. Now, it may not happen as quickly as you want. I've got one going on like that right now, where we got in at too high of a price for the market. And a lot of that is because the market has shifted, particularly in my main base of operation in the Midwest. And it took us a while to figure that out, but it's taking the sellers a lot longer. So they want more money than their house is worth. We're in about $10,000 too much. Now, he's got an issue with his wife. His wife, who has no connection to us, has no idea who we are, no relationship, wants more money than we're willing to pay. The best way to solve this issue, and this is hard because this is cross-cultural, this is an Asian couple. You can see that I'm not Asian. That brings up issues. So you got to be able to work through that. So we're working through with the husband of becoming the trusted advisor. He wants to sell a house through us. His wife, who doesn't have a relationship with us, wants more than we know that we can get and sell it for. We've gotten offers at $80,000 for this house. We're in at $90,000. Guess what? The market will tell you very quickly whether you're priced too high. That's why you have the 14-day right of rescission on contracts. That's the inspection period. You go in there in the inspection period, and the real point is, did I get this house at the right price, and can I sell it? If you get it at the right price, your phone will ring off the hook. If you don't, yep, you're just going to be sitting there waiting for it. So there's a lot of things you have to do. You have to have a relationship with the seller, and if the seller has siblings or an ex-wife in this case, something like that, you got to somehow get connection with them, because you've got to be able to build that trust. So troubled houses come along with troubled people. And what's my third point? Something you never hear the gurus talk about. Because if they did, you'd think twice before you did it. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, but there's not one person who I know in real estate who is not beaten, battered, and you've got to get to the point where you master a system of acquiring leads, following up leads, and tracking leads, because trouble is going to be part of your DNA. It's how do you deal with it? Now, for some of you listening to this, and you can really resonate it because trouble has followed you, I want to tell you, don't give up. You have to have the right coach to help you work through with the right lead acquisition, the right CRM, and the right follow-up strategy. Now, all these brilliant gurus will tell you they have it. Why are there so many people trying to be trained on YouTube? Well, it's real simple. Because the gurus really are just selling you whatever they can, enough to keep you going, but not enough to help you be successful. I should know. I was part of a coaching company, and that's exactly what happened. And if you are watching this video and you were part of that coaching company, it's the truth. It's not so bitter, it's the truth. I left that coaching company because of that very reason. I saw it for years. Now you're going, well, then why were you part of it? Because I got back into it because I had to. And because I had to, I followed the system. And I realized as I was going on that there were key points of the system that worked. And that was congruent with my message. But there were several parts that were not duplicatable. And I got out. I have simplified it. I've got a tremendous record as a top business coach for Tony Robbins, which means simply I know how to teach systems. And this is a system I know how to teach. So, you've got troubled people, you've got troubled houses. The trouble is, how do I navigate through that? Very simply, you simplify things as much as you can. You simplify, and you've got to bake in that there are going to be some issues that you have to deal with. So what do? You deal with them. But we can help you do that. I want you to direct message me, John Sarver, 951-847-0116. And let's have a conversation about how we can all be even more successful in this great journey called wholesale distress rental real estate. Let's talk soon.